Oh, hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 256, I'm very lucky to have Lee Hopkins on the podcast. Well, podcast host, transformation coach, and develop new patterns. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Meanwhile, I'm having a fantastic time here in Chicago, Illinois. I am pumped. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here to talk with you.
I am glad to have you here. Like, you are a podcast coach, a transformation coach. Like, yeah. So, what one is the main sort of dominant thing in your life? Podcasting or transformation coach?
Well, there's a funny story about that. Transformational coaching came, but uh, wait, let me back up. Let me back up because I'm
Mhm.
like, which one is more important? Well, right at the top of the bat, like they're both supposed to be used to share information about connecting with other people. That's my whole thing. That's my
Mhm.
whole jam, right? And so I really thought that creating a podcast would really help me reach other people so that I can get people that would be interested in what I'm saying, what information I'm sharing, and they would join me for coaching. So the conversation around podcasting started before I actually did coaching, which was kind of working against me because I really wanted to have people join me as a coach, help me
Mhm.
come with me in my practice and be part of the transformation. But the way I was giving information out on my podcast wasn't reaching enough people. So I had to slow down on the podcasting to focus on the kind of coaching, the quality of coaching that I wanted. So to answer your question, podcasting is second to coaching. So the purpose of podcasting was to help me get people, well, clients to be interested in my project. But I find that if I focus on the coaching, the clients will come.
So what was the sort of like spark? What started your coaching career? Because starting a podcast, it's like, oh, trust me, I am a proud owner of one, growing growing nicely. I'd like to go, yes, I'm doing a podcast, but no, coaching's the thing. What made you like go, wait, I've gone the wrong way. I should be doing this first.
Absolutely. The wrong way when became that I got so invested into my podcasting that I was losing the message that I wanted to share with people. The
Uh-huh.
problem became such a problem because I realized that I was running out of topics for my podcast. And I'm like, if I how can I? We're constantly transforming. We're constantly changing.
Mm,
What am I missing here? Oh, I'm trying to focus on the quality of the podcast, the editing, and doing this and doing that extra thing and promoting it and things like that. I'm trying to do all that stuff when the real truth or the soul of what I want to share with people is in how I'm going to transform them. And so I really had to focus on, okay, what are the steps? How do I do this? What is it about me that I could share with other people? So I had to focus more on the transformational part. And I got into coaching because I had my own transformation. I had my own transformation, and it started off with being lonely, the loneliness, and helping people understand what's underneath that loneliness because I went through my own process.
mhm.
Yeah,
So,
if
like, with regards to okay, loneliness, like, okay, what was the thing? Like, what was the thing? What was making you lonely? Was it a case of you weren't talking to people? Was it a case of you didn't feel like the right person? Was it a case of I don't know, like it was not your place in the world?
Yeah, I found that all of that was basically true. Everything you said, I did some version of all of that at one point in time. And the story goes is that I started off in a small town in Ohio, my
Yeah.
hometown in Ohio, and I tried to connect with people there, but I didn't understand what connection was. I really didn't understand how to be a friend to anybody. I didn't understand how to understand people and understand understanding, right? Like I didn't know how to connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought, well, they're just not my tribe. It's not my tribe and I have to move to a new place. I have to find my tribe. So I had an opportunity to go to college. And at college, I found that there are people from different places, different backgrounds, different cultures, even different countries. And I
Mm.
was able to talk to them and befriend some of them, but I still felt alone. I still felt lonely. And
Hmm.
so in this, I felt lonely and I thought, well, okay, just still haven't found my tribe. I'm in my 20s. I still haven't found my tribe. And also I was exploring sexuality. So at that time, I was presenting as a cis woman. Oh man, yeah, a cis woman. So
Yeah.
at that time, I started dating women at the time too. So I presented as a lesbian, and I feel like, well, I felt like it was unsafe to share that information. I had to kind of keep that under wraps, and I was hiding myself. So I
Okay.
found, well, I have to try to find my tribe. That's what I need to do. I need to find people that will accept that about me. So I ended up moving from Ohio to California. I had an opportunity to do so.
Hmm.
And I met people there and I connected with people. I was on the karaoke scene a whole lot. I was on the karaoke scene. I met a bunch of people who I liked, who enjoyed me, who I knew about me, who knew about my girlfriends and stuff. And I was like, yeah, we're connected. We're awesome. This is great. People knew my drink orders when I came into the bar. They give me high fives and things like that. And I felt like a little mini celebrity. And I felt like that's my connection. This is my place. But
Mm.
still, Miwa, I felt completely lonely. I still felt lonely. And there was something that I was hiding. And I guess what I understood was that I wasn't being my authentic self still. There was something in there that I wasn't sharing with other people. And that is when I discovered that I need to leave again. I need to leave California again because what was hiding deep down inside was something I wasn't willing to share. And that was me wanting to transition from female to male. So I'm a
Okay.
trans man, as I am now. I'm a trans man.
I
And
I wouldn't have been able to tell. Like, no.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I reinvented myself in Chicago. I went to Chicago. I met the right people,
Hmm.
and I met people who were part of the queer community who really helped me understand what language it was that I was experiencing, the feeling I was experiencing. It's the time Caitlyn Jenner was coming out, and I was like, "Well, this is amazing. I'm going to be my authentic self, and I'm going to find the right people because I'm in the second largest city in the United States. I must." Be my authentic self and around the right people. There's no excuse. And I found myself, guess what? Lonely. I still found myself lonely.
Yeah, because like this is the thing. Like, okay, in order on this quest of yours to find yourself, to find your place in the world, you've moved from your small town to California and went, okay, minus celebrity in the karaoke scene, and like you still haven't found yourself. Then you relocated, and you've like found yourself today as Lee, as we find you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would you still say you're still trying to find yourself? Because like, yeah, like I often speak to people, and like one of the common themes being authentic and finding their authentic self comes up again, again and again and again. And it's one of those things which I find it's always that sort of inner look into someone to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. To your question about finding myself, and I'm always trying to find, yes, I believe that is a lifelong journey. It's something that will happen the day I stop taking my last breath. It'll stop happening when then, because when I think about finding yourself, it's about creating boundaries. And
Mm,
now, hear me out when we talk about boundaries. People say boundaries are about setting limits on other people and saying no to other people. That's what I learned about boundaries. But I want to say that it's not about that. It's not about that. Boundaries are defining characteristics of who you are. They are expectations of how you will behave and how you will feel in certain situations. So, a boundary is created when you have an experience in the world. You go out, you have an experience, and your body and brain logs that experience. They log the feeling and they log the surrounding of the experience. So what was happening in the experience and what were your feelings about the experience?
mhm,
Unconsciously, you get that. Unconsciously, it happens to you. And then the discovery of finding yourself is realizing that unconscious behavior. You go into a situation and you realize that you describe the situation and you're angry about what's happening. And then you behave in a certain way. Maybe you throw a chair or you yell or you leave. Whatever it is, you act in that situation. Unconsciously, it happens. But when you discover yourself, you have a moment of clarity when you wake up and you're like, oh, This is the situation again.
Mm.
I'm angry. What am I going to do? This is where you get to discover yourself. Or the discovery, and for me, the discovery happens, it happens either way. Maybe you won't make the choice. Maybe you'll realize and reflect after the situation is happening. That's why we have journaling, because you can go back and reflect on the situation. You have the situation, it's already passed. You wrote down how you were feeling, you wrote down the experience of the event, you wrote down what you did, and then you're reading back later and you're like, oh, this is the thing I do. I am really mean. Oh, okay, that's something that came upon me. I realized that, wow, I'm not listening to people. I'm mean. I'm a jerk, even though I think I'm giving it all to people.
Hmm.
But if I look back at it, it's the awareness that, oh, I discovered that if I behave in a certain way, if I set the boundary of my character, this is my character, saying yes to myself because I think this is what myself wants. If I do that, I'm pushing people away. Is it
Mm.
really what I want? I want to be connected with people. So having that self-discovery, realizing that I can change my experience is part of the self-discovery, as part of finding yourself and what you really truly want. I say one last thing on that before I let you roll and speak up on this. I'm so excited about it because I think the truth of your character, the truth of who you are, is not denying how you feel in those experiences. Because people will just say, "How you doing?" And like, "I'm okay." No, you're not. You're not. You're not okay. And when you speak your truth, you realize that, oh, this is the boundary. This is, and then you have to discover why you're not okay. And those things come into play. So I think the truth of who you are is all wrapped up in how you feel genuinely in any situation.
No, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. The boundaries, character, like I always find that quite interesting because like what you call boundaries, I would say like it's all part of your character and how it gets defined through your experiences. Like the
Yes.
stronger
Mm,
your character is, it comes down to the more sort of challenges you sort of face on a sort of day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year basis. Like
mhm.
you find, like I tend to find, and like this is like been in my life and other people I've seen, when their character is not quite there, not as strong or what they really think it should be, it's like they haven't had that sort of trial, that adversity to help build that character within them to like make him face onto that next level. But one of the
Absolutely.
yeah, one of the things what interests me is like with regards to you finding yourself, you've had to do the relocation. Would you say that is key to just yourself, or is that necessary for everyone to do amongst themselves?
For the relocation piece, I hmm, I want to say that it's not necessary for everybody to do the relocation
Mm,
piece, like moving, picking up your whole body and moving to a different place. But it is necessary to think or believe that you're having a new experience with different people.
mm,
So maybe you go, instead of like leaving the state and moving around within the state like I did, maybe you were just going to move from relationship to relationship with different people, because there's something that you need to figure out, but you don't say single. You think that you're going from one relationship to the next one to the next one because you're having a new experience, or you plan to have a new experience with this person,
mm.
but you don't. You have the same similar have a similar kind of experience. Maybe you're not fighting over the same things, but you're having the same kinds of fights. And until you realize why you're having those same kinds of fights, you're going to keep having that experience. So to have an experience over and over and over again until you learn your lesson is it. For me, the overarching experience discovering myself, and what I needed to discover myself was
Yeah.
that I constantly find myself in places where I'm hiding. I constantly found myself in places where I was hiding the truth of who I was, who I am, and how I feel. And so I thought that if I go bigger and bolder, I won't, I'll find people who actually accept what I want and who I am. And that wasn't it. I would find something. Well, what happened is that when I moved from place to place, I'd
Yeah.
find yet another thing to hide about myself. So when I was in Ohio, I hid the lesbian thing. And then I was open about it in California. But when I was in California, I hid the trans thing. And then I moved to Chicago, and I was open about the trans thing to some extent. And then I realized that there are other things within the trans community that I could hide about myself, like my history. I could hide that, or I could hide the fact that I made a little more money and I worked in a corporate office when most people around me didn't. Or I
Mm.
would find myself in positions where I'm the only person of color, so I can't share people of color experiences because that's where I am. I'd find something about myself that was unacceptable and I would hide. And that was the experience I'd have over and over and over again.
That must be tiring.
But it makes a great story. Yes.
Yeah, I don't like, this is the thing. Like the whole thing is that okay, when like not like no one in this world is completely open to everyone. But
Mhm.
the whole thing, when you hold so much back about who you are, it's just tiring. It's like
Yes.
you're carrying a lot of weight, and like yeah, you must feel
Yeah.
so much lighter now that you've put that down.
Absolutely, because I realized that the biggest the biggest problem, or the main focus for my life, was to not be rejected. And I put all my energy into not being rejected. I
Hmm.
could not be present for anyone. I could not enjoy their company. I could not discover who I was. I just wanted to be away from rejection. I just wanted to fight against rejection. So all my energy went into not being rejected, doing everything I could. And now when I lift that, I can actually breathe. So it's not, so when I go into spaces and I want to connect with people, I don't have so much energy about not being rejected. I
Mm.
have energy to actually relax and just be myself and connect with people.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear
Hmm.
you. Because like this is the thing. It must like did you like just humor me with this? Did you find you didn't want to be rejected, but you also wanted to be connected? So it was just like,
Yeah. Eh,
which way
Yeah.
do you turn?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just finished this book. I wish I had the quote that I could reach up here, but it was about that essentially. Like I found myself being stuck in between resentment and anger. All right, so I'm resentful because I'm definitely not getting rejected. Okay, like I'm
Yeah.
feeling like I'm doing the things, I'm being the people pleaser, I'm not getting rejected, but I'm resentful of the fact that they don't really know me, and I'm angry that I can't really show myself too.
Mm.
So I lived right there at the intersection of anger and resentment because I want you to know me. I want you to celebrate me. I want to talk about being trans. I want to share those stories with you, but I can't do that because I'm afraid of you rejecting me. And that even showed up again when after I transitioned and I was starting to heal and become more healthy. I'm I actually, let me see, like, oh, so I was in Chicago and I left one job to move
Hmm.
to a new job. So I'm in the corporate environment. And I thought, well, if I leave this one job, I'll find more people that I can connect with at the new job. And sure enough, I met a really cool guy. Awesome. We talked a whole lot. I mean, he was on my wavelength. He had so many intelligent things to say, and we had
Hmm.
so many great conversations. I actually talked to him a lot outside of work. And I was like, wow, this is it. This is what I expected. But this person did not know that I was trans. I did not share that with them. And I started talking about how I wanted to date people, I wanted to meet people, and I was having problems with dating in the dating scene. And because I'm trans, I really couldn't share what the problem was. I'd share kind of general ideas of like, yeah, I got rejected and so and so, but I wanted to talk about why I was being rejected. And I could not do that with this person because I was not honest about who I really was, my truth. And that is super important. If you want to make a close connection with someone, you have to be able to share that deep truth. So even though we connected like I've never connected before on topics, ideas, and we shared so much that after, I mean, I couldn't share this one thing with them. I needed
Mm.
help and support on something, and they weren't able to give it to me because I wasn't honest about what I needed from them.
Would
and I
you
was
say you
resentful.
weren't confident at the time with regards to like who you are now?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I was still afraid of some portion of being rejected by
Hmm.
them because I didn't share this with them. If we were gonna develop a close connection like this, and I needed them, I need their support. At the end of the day, I needed their support when I was feeling rejected by other people, and I
Mm.
could not come to them because I thought that they were going to reject me. I did not trust them. I did not
Ah.
trust them. I was not confident in who I was. I was not. And so I wasn't able to make a genuine, real, close connection with them. And after I told them about it, after I told them about me being trans, they were fine with it, but they weren't able to support me in the way that I knew I wanted. And
Mm.
it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's just that it's an opportunity for learning for me and realizing that it's really important to have confidence in who you are, because when you go out, because one thing, you go out into the world, and the world is full of disappointments and full of problems that you want to talk to someone about who understands you. So you need that to decompress, to learn more about yourself, to reflect, to go and help on your journey of discovering yourself. You need someone to help you reflect that information and your feelings back to you. And then two, man, my friend wants to help me. They wanted to help me. They just didn't know how to support me.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's most really also it was a case of if you're not been able to tell them, they can't they don't have no idea how to support you. So it's like
exactly. Exactly.
so yeah. I have to ask this question, and like this is one like just curious about yourself. Like, what lessons have you learned from small town you to college you to California you to Chicago you?
So small town me to um what is it? Small town me to university
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I'm thinking about that. And I'm like, wow, that kid didn't know anything. But from that experience, I was like, wow, there is so much to learn and so much to do.
Mm,
From that one, coming from a small town to a college, I was like, I remember seeing people with piercings and blue hair and being absolutely astonished by it. It's the early 2000s. It's absolutely astonished. It was amazing. I was like, wow. I learned that I'm really curious about what's happening in the world, and I'm also afraid. At that point in time, I was like curious, but also afraid
hmm.
of what's happening in the world and how the world could possibly be. And then going from the university to California, I learned that I was definitely afraid. So, because I took someone with me to California, and although I was curious, I was still holding on to the fear. So, I learned that I do want a new experience. I do want something to be different, but I'm afraid to have it all by myself.
Mm,
But when I moved from California to Chicago, I moved all by myself. I decided that I would sell everything. I had maybe 7 boxes, and I shipped those 7 boxes to myself via FedEx, and I got on the plane. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have a new experience all by myself, because if I do anything with anyone else, I'm going to be stuck with bad habits, old habits. And then in Chicago, I realized that all those habits are wherever I go, and all the work is internal. That's what I discovered. I couldn't leave them. Couldn't leave them behind. I thought, well, I just brought myself along with my problems. It's wherever they were, wherever I am, there they are. And so the work was internal. No matter what I did, I really had to turn inward to figure it out.
yeah, this is the thing. I think so many people in this world today, like they think, okay, if I put on a facade of this is who I am, if I like relocate, if I join the armed forces or like do something extreme, that their problems will magically disappear. When it most of the times it's going to take a sit down and look in the mirror and have a good conversation with oneself and go, okay.
Absolutely.
Without that conversation, they can't really sort of resolve it. And look, you've touched on it earlier. There was like, yeah, things you didn't like to look at because the truth of it is, like many of the times, we are our own worst enemies. And when you listen to some of the voices which come out of our own heads, if that was a person, you'll be punching them in the face, like, like quite quickly. Um, so like trying to like having that sort of self-reflection, sit down and like, yeah, go, okay.
Absolutely. And that is so true. That's why I share now that I'm trans.
Hmm.
I share that widely and openly because it is a physical manifestation of what people believe that is going to change their life. Like I thought becoming trans was going to change my life and I was going to be happy deep down inside. And what I'm not saying to you is that I regret my decision. Those aren't words that I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that the work is internal and whatever I've done externally, I'm grateful. I'm fantastic. It's like moving from one place to the next place, to the next place, to talking to people, to discovering myself. The thing, though, about the transition is that I was hoping the world outside of me would change. The world outside of me would change. And I was afraid. I was so afraid to let people know about my past. Also, it was just all based in fear and not real love and genuine interest in my spirit. I had to go inside to figure that out, that was it. This is what I needed. This is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be this. And I did it externally because I thought something was going to change outside of me externally. I thought it was going to be more widely accepted and appreciated. But you know what happened is that I was still afraid of being myself.
Hmm.
I was still afraid of sharing my truth with people. And it just became another layer of me being afraid. I was afraid to share my truth with people who I wanted to be friends with, who I wanted to date, who I wanted to connect with. I was afraid. And so I had to go inside and face that fear and come out on the other side of it.
Hmm. So Lee, so what has like apart from the physical, but what has fundamentally changed, would you say, within like your spirit, your character, like who you
Mm.
are?
Well, more awareness about these boundaries that I talked about earlier. And the way I talk about boundaries is more about saying yes to yourself and honoring yourself
Hmm.
and being aware of your reactions and your feelings in situations. So and reactions and feelings in my situation. So let me tell you a story about
Oh,
trying to connect
a
with
story.
people.
I like a story.
Yeah,
Come
a story
on.
time
There
about
you
when
go.
I was trying to make a connection and I wasn't aware of how afraid I was. I was like trying to come out of this fear. So I'm in therapy and I was group therapy and I'm in Chicago and we're
Mhm.
learning about how, your thoughts kind of create your reality, mindset, and all those things. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to be more of a happy-go-lucky looking when I go to a place. I'm going to be intentional about making a connection with someone,
Oh yeah.
right? So I
Okay.
do that. I do that. I go out and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go to places and think that I can't make a friend. I'm going to go to places and believe that I can. So I go to a comedy club, I strike up a conversation with this really cool, awesome guy, and we start talking, and it seems really cool. We're flowing along, and I bring the conversation towards LGBTQ stuff.
Hmm.
And they had mentioned that they have never seen a trans person before. They don't understand the process or why anyone would ever want to transition. So I thought, I'm going to share my truth. I'm going to make a genuine connection with this person. And sure enough, I open up and I speak and I say, I'm trans.
Hmm.
And their face like freezes, they freeze. Their eyes bug out and they stop talking and they leave. Done, gone. They say nothing else to me, they're gone. And I'm like, dang, ouch. That hurt. It hurt. And I realized that in the face of this rejection, I had a group of people to process with. It hurt, but in the end, it's okay. What I overall reflecting back on that experience, it happened years ago. But the lesson that I learned is that being your authentic self is not the it's not a bad thing. It's beneficial to you because right then and there, I learned that although we were having a great conversation, a wonderful connection, deep down inside, I cannot rely on this person to support me in something that's very important to me, which is the truth of me being trans. I
Mm.
don't want people to run away from that. And previously, I would probably have chased them down and thought, well, what did I do wrong? Wait, the history of trans people is this, and I'm such a great person because of that. No, neither of us wants that. I don't want to put the energy into doing that because I want that space to be myself, and I want that space to be supported when the time comes. So what I discovered and is sharing your truth has just been the most beneficial and freeing thing about my existence. So hiding the truth about these things that are deeply important to me doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't make me feel good. I've been through the process enough. Suppressing that doesn't feel good.
Mhm. Yeah, I know, like this is the thing, it's a tough lesson to learn because like this is the thing. When you like when anyone wants to be truly their authentic self, it comes with sometimes a very harsh truth for others uh around you because
Mhm.
it can be very freeing, and people fear that because it's like, how dare you sort of break some sort of conform like barrier and stuff like this? How dare you be so bold to be out in the
Yes.
world like this? Like, and it doesn't matter where, like, what type of person you are, like straight, gay, trans,
Mhm.
wherever. But it's also a weird thing because those are the people which are highly celebrated and also shown
Yeah,
with great disdain.
I have my theory about this. I have
Oh
my
yeah.
theory about this because I used to be terrified of people who walked around and spoke their truth. I used to be terrified of those people. I'm
Mm,
like, man, you're so confident and you're so cool, and I'm so this and I'm so not. And they're just not even trying to do anything to me. I don't believe that they were even thinking about me. They were just having their existence and being in their own spirit and enjoying that thing. And
yeah.
when people are in their own authenticity and they feel like they honor what they feel and they just express it out loud, that's what scares people. I think it scares people because I think really deep subconsciously that they know that they can also do it. And if you have your own power and you can control how you feel about things, you don't get the easy way out to blame other people for how you feel. You
Mm,
don't get to do that. So, holy moly, this guy is walking over here, living his truth, being okay with things that are happening, controlling himself. Man, you mean I have to do that? I don't like that. I'm gonna mess him up so that they don't do their truth. They don't show their truth. So I don't have to do anything to control myself and show my truth.
mm,
So that's my theory about it. I think that people realize that they can also be powerful, but that power comes great responsibility.
mm. Sounds like a good quote for a film. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that's something about a spider.
Not maybe superheroes. Hey, getting distracted there. But like, yeah, like the whole thing is now you have gone on your journey and you have like discovered like a greater sense of who you are in this world. Like,
Mhm.
and you know what? You've most already done a hell of a lot more reflecting than the average person. Like, so with your coaching, how do you encourage that in other people?
Oh, definitely a great question. With the coaching, I help people really look at their own behaviors and how they are showing up for other people.
Mm,
So the boundaries, what do they really feel? I try and bring that to their consciousness of what are they really feeling in certain situations. And and then I also check for the, the the way they treat themselves. So I had to think about that for a moment.
mm,
The way they treat themselves and what they think and feel about themselves, because that's going to help them understand a little more about how they show up with other people. We focus on being a friend to yourself, learning about specifically your history, your hobbies, and your habits. I'd like to focus on the feeling that we have around those two, the joy, and
mm,
specifically joy, because anger is everywhere. So it makes it hard to see what you really like to do. Who are you? And what do you really like to do? Because those things are what you would choose to continue to create or choose to continue to talk about if you enjoy them. I think when we talk about things that are angering, there is more frustration and more lack of control. And we don't want to create things that we can't control. We want to create the joy within us. So
Quick,
go ahead.
like interjection. Would you say anger or fear?
Well, what do you mean?
No, like basically, you say anger is all around us. I would say people being afraid, fear is all around us too.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, which, like you say, anger, would you say it that's the primary, like, sort of
Oh,
connection, or like, is the fear
I
the
see what
primary
you mean.
connection?
I think fear is the primary connection for sure, but it shows up so easily as anger.
Hmm.
And so when people aren't quite aware of what they fear, they're more so aware of what they're angry at and not so much the fear. So I'm like, well, we'll focus on the fear first and we'll step it back to what you're afraid of. And fear is usually like not being able to control something. And the thing that you can control will focus on you and what you can control and how you're feeling. Just becoming aware of it. Because, like I said earlier, with the boundaries, you develop these things and then part of your character as experiences that you have and they're unconscious.
Hmm.
Sometimes you do, most of the time, you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it. What's the reason behind it? What are you trying to protect? What benefits you about the situation?
Mm. So what, like, so when someone comes to you and goes, yes, I need your coaching, Lee, come help me. Help me become better. Like, so is it a case of they just sign up to a program, uh like you go through the like first stage which you've just gone through now, and like you're away with the races, or is there more to it than that?
Oh yeah. So, well, when most people come to me for coaching, it's around creating friendships and meaningful relationships.
Mm,
So they usually come with the questions or comments like, nobody likes me, and I just don't know how to meet friends, and I don't know what to do about it. That's usually what happens. And the transformation comes when we start looking at what they really want in their life. Because in order to make connections, you have to start with yourself. Like there's three kinds of connections that you make in the world, and we start with understanding those connections. We say that there's a connection with me or
hmm.
yourself, the one with yourself, and then there's a connection with you, that's you and another person, that's interpersonal relationships, that's friendships, that's romantic relationships, that's relationships with family members, individual family members. And then there's the dynamic that you have with social groups, with clubs, with your family, things like that. And we focus on what your connection is to that, how you behave in those spaces. And then we see how you treat yourself. So back in your history of these things, we look for patterns of behavior. We look at patterns of instances that strike you emotionally. So whatever it is, the huge emotional event, we'll look at those things. But I'm not a licensed therapist, honestly. I'm not a licensed therapist, and I do not prescribe or do not do anything therapeutic like that. But we just look at them for the patterns of behavior that happens in those situations because
Hmm.
we keep recreating those patterns. Recreating those instances with our decisions and the behaviors that we have. Because, like for me, like I've explained, like moving from place to place to place,
Yeah.
it felt different, but the experience was the same. And I had to learn from it. And so I help people learn from their experiences. So, what is it about you that you're doing, or what situation that you're having that you cannot make friends? What is it about yourself that you feel like you aren't interesting? What are you actually doing? Nothing. I used to get things like this. Nothing. I just relax all day. Like, no. You're doing something all day. We have to be more specific about it so that we can talk about it and we can change it. So I help bring awareness to that.
Mm. Yeah, because like it's one of those things where, okay, like some people might go like, yes, what you do for coaching, like basically building meaningful connections, building friendships, everything like this, there should be no job for you in this like ultra connected world we live in. There should be no need for your services. In like, yes, I can talk to anyone I want to in like an instant. Like, like you are a charlatan, Lee, a charlatan. Yeah, like, and like this is the thing. Like, do you get that vibe from people? Like they go, huh,
I
oh,
I certainly do. I certainly do. Like, well, what is it that we need to be connected about? Like, what is it we can talk,
Mm,
we can message people at the top. If we were, if I wasn't needed, then 20% of the world wouldn't say that they feel lonely. You know, it's the kind of conversations that we're having. It's what we're talking about that makes the connection, that doesn't make the connection. And I help people understand more about that. So there's three things that I usually share with people, with my clients, or just anyone really, about making better conversations and connections. And three
yes.
things, three topics to talk about: your history, your hobbies, and your habits, where you have your history of who you are. So I talked about the history and the truth of who I am, but
Yeah.
the history, where you're from, what about your characteristics that are important to you and you want to share with other people, and then your hobbies. Those are things that you don't want to give up. Those are things that you enjoy doing. And like I said just a moment ago, we are scrolling through social media and we're spending all day relaxing, but we're not really focused and we cannot explain exactly what we were doing. What is relaxing? What is it that you are doing? Well, actually, you were scrolling through Instagram, looking at really cute pictures and DMing girls. That's what you're doing all day. Or you're scrolling through TikTok and you're watching magic videos because you like magic videos on TikTok. You look and you have a list curated for magic or something like that, or food video, mukbang, whatever it is. But you're looking at something specific to you because it is important to you. And not realizing the thing that's important to you gives you nothing to talk about. If you just say, oh, nothing, then how are you going to connect with another person? You
Mm,
really need to know what you were doing and be specific about it. There's something about you that enjoys watching people eat mukbang. There's something about you that enjoys that. There's something about you that wants to connect with people. So you're looking at pictures on Instagram and you're messaging people. What is that? We dive into that. If you knew the answer to those questions, you would already say what they are. You wouldn't say, oh, nothing. You'd be more conscious and aware of how you're behaving and how you're showing up in the world. And as a coach, I help you do that so that you can connect with other people, so that you have something to talk about. And then finally, your habits. It's the same thing. What are you doing that you enjoy? What do you do after dinner? What do you do after dinner? Do you have a cigarette? Do you have a drink? Do you watch TV? Do you play with your dog? Do you talk to your kids? What is it that you do and why is that important to you? We bring all that to the surface and we talk about why those things are important to you. Why after dinner and why not before work? Why not during lunch? Some things like that. You really want to know what it is that you're doing, because I think that every human does whatever they do, it's beneficial to them. Whether you realize it or not, it's something that's beneficial to you. Even when we're talking about being afraid and we're yelling at people, it's because we're afraid and we want to protect ourselves. We feel that that's going to benefit us. But what if it doesn't? What if Coach Lee helps you see that yelling at someone is not really the way to help you connect with somebody, changing their behavior? What if it's you that has to look deep inside and change that behavior yourself and feel comfortable? So that, here's the best thing about it: when you control yourself, people around you change. They have to, because you're not yelling anymore. You're not screaming anymore. Another story that I had, like, I was having a fight with my girlfriend, and I really this is after I transitioned and I was going to therapy. And one of the things they told us was just pay attention to why you're upset. And we were just fighting all the time. And I didn't know how to change it. I didn't know what to do. And I remember we were fighting, and in the middle of the fight, I woke up. I woke up. I was like, why are we fighting? Why are we all right? Why are we fighting? And she's mad and she's storming around. And I'm like, I cannot remember why we're fighting. Why is this important? I just know I want it to stop, but I don't know how to stop it. So I remember my therapist saying, do anything else. And normally I would, in this situation, I would say something ridiculous back to them just to hurt their feelings, something that was rude, I didn't mean. And instead I just left. Okay, I didn't know what was going to happen when I left, but we had an opportunity to do something different and to see something different and try something different. So the next time we argue, well, I know that yelling hasn't helped, hasn't solved anything. We still continue to do that. So leaving, well, that kind of left us in a weird spot, but at least it wasn't still the level of anger and fighting and frustration that we had before. So let me
Mm.
try something else. Why don't I start talking? I don't know why we're fighting. Do you know why we're fighting? I'm mad at you. Oh, why are you mad? Let's talk about that. And so our conversation changed. We had a new outcome from it. And that's what I help people do. So, what is it that you're doing in specific situations that you are not aware of that is unable to help you make friends? I
Mm.
hope you figure that out.
Yeah, like this is the thing. Like, it's interesting that you bring up the word doing, and I think it's with regards to like, yeah, the sort of doing social media, like those connections and everything like this. I think a lot of people in this world today live vicariously through other people's feeds rather than
Mm,
actually going out there and making that connection. Oh, like let's join a hiking group and like, yeah, let's go for that hike. They'll look at it on Instagram, they might look at it on Facebook or whatever social media platform and go, huh. And like feel a little bit sadder because they're not doing it themselves.
yeah.
Like social media is a medium not for relaxation, or like basically if you're not doing a lot in your life, it is like a frustration, annoyance, and yes, the green-eyed envy monster
Hmm.
comes out on a regular basis. Like, so what do you like? Talking like getting people to talk about what they're doing and like in the equation of life, you're always that constant. So you like if things are screwing up, you are that constant in that equation. So
Yes.
what do you like, what are one of the sort of key things when people sort of like go, okay, these are my habits which I've identified, what is the kind of next step for them to sort of like go, hey, okay. Is it a good sit down conversation, hug? I don't know. Get drunk? Hey.
Well, I like to use the history, hobbies, and habits all together.
Mm,
And I like to make sure that there's a doing stuff, but there's also the feeling that you have around doing the thing. And
mm,
so what I'm looking for are things that bring them joy about their history, about their hobbies, and about their habits. And so if scrolling through Facebook is not bringing them joy, there's something that they're looking at that they want to do that might bring them joy. And I want to bring them towards that and try to help them understand why it would make them happy and then encourage them to go out and have that experience, but not in search of looking for friends, just in search of being mindful and thinking about how that experience is going to be,
mm,
not in search of showing it, not for the specific purpose of showing it to someone else on Instagram or to prove someone else wrong about their experience. Throw your phone away. Throw it away. Gone. Throw it away. What you want to do is have this experience and realize if you like it or not, if you how you feel about it. And it doesn't even have to be like it or not. I would really like it. I really prefer if people will go into the experiences and get in touch with their emotions about the experience and what specifically did they enjoy about the experience or what frustrated them, what was fearful for them, all of it. Was it fearful that you are now having this experience, but you're not now you don't have time to look on Instagram at other people having the experience? Then we unpack that. What's going on with that? What's going on with that experience? But the idea is to build those characters, the character or the boundaries of who you are by having an experience, realizing how you feel about the experience, being absolutely present with the experience, understanding them. So I brought that into play because I wanted to talk about the importance of joy and enjoyment in these experiences because we want to keep doing them over and over again. So what I do with the history, hobbies, and habits is I have people look at two of them, make a list, prioritize them, and
mm,
which is the most important to them to share with people. So in my history, I have the queer and I have black in that order because I really want to talk to queer people before I want to talk to Black people about my experience, because I've experienced that if I don't talk about queerness with people, then there's a whole part of my person that disappears. It's super important for me to talk about that. So I'm just saying in my own personal list. And then let's say I have board games in the next one. So I would look for two things like queer and board games, and I play board games every other 2 weeks or something. That'd be a habit
Hmm.
of playing board games. But habit's not important. It's just about the history and the hobby at this point, because those are two very important things to me. I would go look for events that encompasses those two things, and they must have those two things, because
Yeah.
that's already two important parts of my personality. Not just queerness, because maybe I have nothing in common with some people there. Not just board games, because maybe those people aren't interested in queerness. I want to go to somewhere that have places that are important to me, places that have at least those two things that are important to me. And I go there and I be myself. I be myself. I go and I have that experience, and I encourage my clients to do things like that. Go there and have that experience. That takes away the anxiety of people won't like you. Wow, you have a whole lot of things about yourself already that people are there specifically for. Talk about the queerness, talk about the board
Mm.
games that you like. You may find people there that don't like the exact same board games you do. Fine, whatever. You're talking about board games, talk to other people that are there. But I'm saying that it makes it easier to make a connection when you know more about yourself, especially those things that you enjoy, and you're not like checked out and scrolling and not sure why you're doing something.
Yeah, no, because like this is the thing. It goes back to what I said earlier, like with like yeah, reflection, like self-reflection. Because yeah, if you don't know yourself, you don't like you're not going to know where you like not just fit into one place in society, but like to sort of like know like what type of character, what type of person you are, and making those connections. Because look, you went yes, queer board games. Those are the important things
Yeah.
for me. Like for me, it'll be like yes, gym and like basically yeah, Marvel films, for example. But if I but it comes down to this. It's not just that. It has to be many other things because you end up getting yourself trapped in some weird sort of echo chamber in life where you're like, yes, this isn't the sum of all my friendship when it's like no, because there are friends which I find in life you can like have that serious conversation with. There are friends you can have that sports conversation with. There's friends which you have that movie and TV show conversations with. And yeah, all of them are in this weird sort of spectrum where you know who's going to be, you kind of know who's going to be step up in times of trouble, and you know who's going to be like more of a fair weather friend, if you get what I mean. And
Yeah,
like trying to
definitely.
like putting all of that together, it's an interesting puzzle to say the least,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
don't think you really figure out, you know.
Yeah, and to your point, you have different friends that really serve different functions,
Mm,
but at the very least, you know what kind of functions they're going to serve. Like I used to be the kind of person who would be like the whatever kind of person, but
yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, what do you want? I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I would be the person that no one could really count on for anything because I'm so wishy-washy. I'm unsure. I want to make sure people like me in this sense. To your point, I'm saying that I had no sense of what I really wanted. I just didn't want to be rejected.
Mm,
And so I would put myself in situations where I could just not be rejected or not share the authenticity of who I am because I really didn't know. I really didn't know that either. And at the very least, you know that you have this friend that you can watch Marvel movies with because you can call them up and they'll be like, hey, I
yeah.
like Marvel movies. I want to hang out or I want to be the gym buddy with you. And I'm going to help you train for this triathlon or whatever it is. But me, I had nothing. I'm like, well, maybe I will train with you for a day, but I don't know if I really want to. You know what? I haven't really watched Marvel movies, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I really want to go. It wouldn't be fun. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be fun to drag along that kind of person because they have no idea of the joy that it brings you that you want to celebrate with them. They don't
Mm,
know it. They don't feel it because the connection and the truth is, I really believe that the truth, the connection with people is not about in the same experiences that we have. It's
mhm.
nice to have an experience and share it with somebody else, but the connection is really made in how we feel about the experience. If you take me to the Marvel movie and I absolutely hate it, which will never happen, but if I absolutely hate it,
It'll never happen.
will never happen. I like the special effects. Okay, look, they can't do wrong. But
Okay.
I'm saying that um So I go to the movie and you're all pumped about it, and you're like, yeah, yeah, what do you think of the movie? It was great. Then you see that one scene where they Santa's, then snapped his fingers, and I'm just like, yeah, we had the same experience, but we're not connected.
Yeah, yeah, no, like this is the thing, like the sad thing, like for anyone who falls into the realm of being a pleaser, it's you'll please everyone else except yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
which can lead to like some very sort of painful moments, hollow moments. But that's, you know what I mean, that is unfortunately the plight of many a pleaser, which you're no longer. So yeah, you've evolved and grown on that side of things, you know?
Yes, I want to say that being a people pleaser is, where you need to be at the moment. If it is, I no shame, no shame,
Mm-hmm.
no shame, no shame, because I've been there, but it doesn't serve you to be there, and you'll find that you're feeling resentful and frustrated, angry about it, and sometimes that behavior returns in me. It returns in me, and I gotta, hey, stop, stay, hey, 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 and you're not getting what you want. Nobody here is going to be happy if you're not happy, Lee, because you're part of the situation here. Like, what do you benefit? How are you benefiting from the situation?
Mm.
Were you giving up something to make them happy? Okay. What are you getting in return? Their happiness? Okay. Well, if you really want their happiness, then don't be upset. Don't be, this is, you completed your task, you got your goal. Don't be upset about that. And when that people pleasing behavior comes back, it sounds like, hey, you did something for them. Why aren't they doing something for you? And when that comes up, I'm like, no, 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 no. You did it for the satisfaction of helping them. And that's what you wanted. And it has happened. So what? You are absolutely exhausted and tired. All right. What you have learned is that likely you won't do it next time. That's it. That's it. It's, don't beat yourself up about it, and focus on the fact that there's something that you do that you benefit some way from it. Be honest about what you really want from people, because people really want it too. I want people to be honest with me about what they need. And I want to be honest about what I need. I think that that's the hallmark of a good friendship.
Mm. Indeed, indeed, it is. Like yes, without a decent friendships, like this is one of the things I think many a person falls into. Like they feel they can do it all by themselves, and like they like sometimes feel if they have to ask for help, it's putting putting others out, which they don't want to do. So they try to do it all by themselves, try to like get that sort of growth by themselves, but ultimately it leads to
Ah,
failure.
yeah, because nobody does it by themselves, and they're probably BSing themselves because, man, there's a fear. There's fear down there. It's fear. It's. I think that deep down is being afraid to ask for help because they're going to be perceived as some way and rejected, ultimately rejected for being vulnerable or open or something. And I think asking for help is the bravest thing that you could possibly do.
Mm,
It's what I was watching a TikTok video, and this guy was talking about how um, animals, they're all born with something that helps them survive. Like, they're all born with the instinct to help them survive. Like cheetahs, they're able to run. Giraffes are able to run.
mm-hmm,
You know, and humans were able to cry. That's our first. That's our first power move, is to be able to cry, because that's a signal for help. Like, we need help. We need to keep asking for help, 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 and
mm,
we need to do that. And so we do unapologetically when when little babies. That's what we do. And so as adults, as we grow up, we still need to do that. That's our number one survival skill. Ask for help. Nobody gets anything done by themselves. And so there's something that's stopping you from believing that asking for help is a benefit. What is it? Probably ostracization, rejection, or something along those lines.
ostracization.
Ostracization. I made that word up. I don't know if it's real, but I'm
Uh,
so inspired.
like, hey, being ostracized from society. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Ah. So I have to ask now, with all what's gone on with your journey and everything like this, like with your life's journey, like coaching people, like motivating people, helping them build those connections, friendships, like getting out there. Like, have you started the podcast again now that you kind of like, hey, moved up, like, you know what I mean, getting your coaching business set up to a place where you want to be? Oh,
I feel like this is a
excited.
sign.
Huh?
I feel like this is a sign. This is a sign because I've been thinking about it for a month or two already, and I want to
Okay.
make sure. So now I've got my coaching business, and I've got my courses, and I've got my like 30-day challenge to make friendships and things like that. I have the focus and the message of what I want to share with people, and
Hmm.
now to amplify that, I certainly want to get back into podcasting. I just don't know exactly what the format's going to be because like I said, I really got excited about the podcast. So it started as a storytelling podcast where I told my story about some of the adventures that I had because I wanted to be my authentic self and share my truth, right?
Yeah.
And so I started talking about things, but I also put music to it. So it was more like it was important to paint pictures with the story and not just, talk about what I was saying without having some background and sound effects and things like that. So it took a lot of time and effort, and I really do enjoy that part. So I want to bring that part back, but I'm also kind of conscious of the time and effort and energy that I have to put into it. And also, when I was getting into it, I was like, all right, I need more episodes because I'm not getting traction. I want to get people interested in what I have to say. So I started having two different kinds of formats. I started interviewing people, and I
Yes.
also started answering questions from Reddit. So I'd answer friendship advice questions. So I had two. So I started once a week, episode once a week with this format, with a storytelling format. And then I started having episodes twice a week. And I'm like, now I'm booking guests and I'm looking for questions to answer. And it was just a whole lot, but I enjoyed all of it. So the
Mm.
question is, how is it going to return? I have not answered that question yet, but the podcast will return, but how will it return? What will it look like? What kind of shape will it have?
Yeah, like this is the thing. I were earlier today. I watched I don't know if you know these two YouTubers. They're called Colin and Samir. They basically do. They look at the creator economy in like sort of great detail, and like they sort of break down an analysis of like what people are doing right and what people are doing wrong in like the sort of creative landscape. And one of the things they said, they were talking about a guy called KSI. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He had like basically I would say he's the number one YouTuber in the United Kingdom at this present time. And like they talked about his Reddit community and how they sort of help generate generate content like and stuff like this. They are one of the most engaged groups he can have. And it's very interesting that you mentioned Reddit because, yeah, from that, I think many a seed can grow. Like if
Hmm.
you did, like I would say, if you did do the interview thing, ah, I can't remember the name of the chap you were having like a YouTube conversation with. Cannot remember his name, but if
Hmm.
you had like a sort of once a week conversation with him and then basically did the Reddit thing, that might be an idea. Like if you can get a number of sort of Q&As coming off of that and like, yeah, see what happens from there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thank you for that insight because I'm really interested in answering that question. Like, what does it look like? And the more information, the more educated decision I can make. Because I know that I have been jonesing to start, but I realize that it does take energy. And if I start again, I cannot just get tired and stop. And I want it to look good and reflect all of the work that I've done so far.
Be careful you do not fall into the realms of perfection, my friend, because if you do that, that is the thing which will just basically stop you entirely. Perfection is it's the ally of procrastination, and procrastination is the very thing what kills one's dreams on the regular basis.
Wow, you know what? I feel I feel like you really see me because that's something I do.
Aye, aye. And like this is the thing. Look, I would say, hey, if you want to get back into the realm of podcasting, get back into it. Like, like do it with a friend at the beginning. Like just like, yeah, maybe once every 2 weeks. like maybe once a month if you really wanted to sort of start it really slow. But say like go with once every 2 weeks. That's like you and your friend make that commitment to just like sit down, talk, and it doesn't have to be your friend every 2 weeks. You can get him in, and if you get a guest in or someone else in, cool. And then if you're like feeling the vibe and you're feeling like you've got the right way, then why not increase it to once a week? And if it's like really rocking and rolling and it's not taken away from your coaching, like maybe do it twice, but once a week, I think would be do you a world of good. It will do like well, I think it will help inspire you to help inspire others, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. That's why I started in the first place, is to inspire others.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think about it. I think about it because
Well,
that coaching thing is very important. I do want to know the the YouTubers that you were talking about. So
yeah,
I'll make sure to connect with them.
like Colin and Samir. It came out today, so you won't be able to miss it. Yeah. So yes, this is the thing with regards to the side of KSI and everything like that. Yeah, I think it would be an idea. Uh, Maybe a small seed which can turn into a mighty redwood. You never know.
Ah,
Hey.
I like that. Yeah, yeah, right.
Mm. Now, with regards to your journey, your life journey at this present time, with the coaching, like the podcast, which yes, we expect to see a lot more of in the near future. Like, where would you like this journey to take you? Is it going to still be in Chicago, or is it going to be a new city, new country, new place in the world? Who knows?
Well, the way technology is going today, I really would like to go anywhere, everywhere, because for many years, I wanted to step outside of the United States and I didn't have my passport. And I decided at the end of 2019 that I was going to get my passport. And
Okay.
it showed up. It showed up in March 2020.
There you go. Yes.
There we go. So the universe probably said that I need to sit down for a minute and spend some time in Chicago and really create. And
Hmm.
now I've done that. And I really hope that I can put something in my passport, go to the UK. I want to go over there. I want to see what's going on over there. I want to check out Japan. I want to go to Africa. I wanted to go to Australia. I
Hmm.
want to see New Zealand. There's so many places that I really would like to go. And so I hope that this coaching and the way technology is will let me take my laptop and go connect with people in real life and online all over the place.
Yeah, I see. I see. So, like, if there was one key country you could go to tomorrow, say, what country would that be?
Japan.
Why
Japan.
Japan?
Um oh man. Pokemon? No.
Well, well, you got to
Okay.
catch them all. There you go.
Okay. Well, seriously, when I was a kid, Pokemon was just starting to, I was like in the sixth grade and Pokemon was just starting to be a big thing. And but I enjoyed I enjoyed anime
Hmm.
and I learned more about the culture when I went to college. And I happened to go to college that had a sister university of a college in Tokyo. So I met a whole lot of international students and I studied Japanese while I was there too. And I learned a whole lot more about the culture. And I was like, yeah, I want to go to old Japan. I want to go see Kyoto and I want to see, I don't know, something that's completely new and different and possibly frightening for me. I want to go see those things, but beautiful. I want to go see the different culture. I want to be a part of the ceremonies, the tea ceremony. I want to
Mm-mm.
be a part of so many things. I want to see something different, but I've had a fascination with the beauty and how we're so closely linked, but separate. And yeah, so Japan because Pokemon.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, hey, look, I've heard of other people wanting to go to Japan for a myriad of reasons. Like, yeah, for anime to like, yeah, to like with my lady, it's like, yes, she wants to like basically absorb all of Japanese architecture, and like, yeah, basically
Yes.
just if she had her way, or just this would be like a plain white box with
You've been
like,
Marie
yeah.
Kondo, this like just
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
very
no,
simple. cute. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it irritates her because she likes Marie Kondo, the whole minimalist thing.
Mm.
And yeah, and the whole thing is, I think I'm more of a natural minimalist than her. If I had my way, it would be like, yes, there's a bed, there's a TV, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, squat rack. There we go. Yeah, she won't let me decorate. Trust me. Oh, I love it. Love it. I have one final question for you. What was the last thing what brought you gratitude to your day?
The last thing that brought me gratitude.
Yeah.
Ooh. I got so much joy, so I had to tamp it down just a little bit.
Hey.
So for years, my mom had been sick with uh, lung, not lung cancer, but she had lung problems because she had smoked for years upon years.
Okay.
And earlier this year, she got a lung transplant, which was
Ooh,
absolutely amazing. Like
wow.
she finally got one. She's been on the list for a while, and she's got one, and she had gone through this transformation, the surgery, and everything, and she still had to recover. Just because she's like in her 60s, and just because she had surgery doesn't mean that she automatically got new functioning lungs and she could run around like I want her to. Like I
Hmm.
want her to be able to, but she's not able to. But yesterday she called me to tell me that she went outside to the mall, and she hadn't been out to hang out or anything for a long time. And that was something that brought me so much joy, is to hear about her experience going outside and just enjoying doing something she hadn't been able to do in a long time. And we had a really brief, short conversation, but it was beautiful. And I'm like, wow, that brings me joy, because I hope to be able to hang out with her and to do something like that with her, something I hadn't been able to do in years. So it gives me hope.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Now, if that's not an indication or a sign to sort of get out there and go out there and do something like epic or grand, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Lee, I have to say thank you for coming on today. It has been a pleasure. It has been a joy, an honor, nay. Hey, I must ask, how do people find you out in this big wide world on these interwebs?
Into these interwebs, you can find me on the World Wide Web at patternsofpossibility.com. I have my 30-day challenge to make friends there. And I also have 10 tips to make memorable conversations. You can find that there at Patterns of Possibility. And also on all social media. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram and YouTube too.
Outstanding. All of this information will be in the show notes. So please go out, find Lee, contact Lee, help build greater friendships, greater connections out there, my friends, my life warriors.
Yes.
There you go. And I'd like to say thank you, my friends, my life warriors, for sticking with us to the end of the show. It has been a pleasure. It has been a joy. So please stay well, stay safe, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic. Be all the positive bees you can be in this world and then some. Have a great day, guys. Peace. And we are.